Hello everybody, this is Chris Bird or MonkeyDude1313 and this is going to be an in-depth review of the MoYu AoChuang GTS M 5x5. This puzzle came out around September of last year, so I'm a little bit late to the game on this one, but I believe it is definitely one of, if not the best 5x5s on the market right now. For a little overview, this cube weighs 153.4 grams or 5.4 ounces. It comes in black or stickerless, and you can buy it from both the Cubicle or SpeedCubeShop for $40. Before I jump into the review of the puzzle, very quick look at the box. There is really nothing of note here. Magnetic box, comes with pamphlets and stuff, but that's about it. Nothing fancy like the WRM that we saw the other day. The puzzle itself, out of the box, feels extremely fast, difficult to control, but very, very smooth. I would liken this to the WRM out of the box feeling, where you kind of really want to slow it down when you first get it. I went through the process of lubricating it with both the light lubricants, cleaning it out, and then lubricating with the heavy lubricants and trying those both, and I did definitely like the heavy lubricant more. I cleaned it out completely for this video just to show you how it feels out of the box though. So first we'll look at the colors. The colors on this are almost the same, in my opinion, as the WRM. So I don't need to show you a comparison to that. However, the plastic on this puzzle is definitely a shiny, glossy look, whereas the WRM is a more matte look. Since a lot of people have GAN puzzles, I'm going to compare this color scheme to the colors on the GAN right now. Here is the difference in greens, much paler green. Difference in yellows, there's not a lot, but this is definitely a brighter color on the GAN. Blues are almost the same color as per usual. Whites, not much to talk about. Reds, almost the same, except again, brighter on the GAN. And oranges, same, brighter on the GAN. If we want to compare the colors to the WuShuang from Qi, whites are similar. Blues are similar, except brighter on the GTS M. Yellows are similar. Greens are similar, except paler on the GTS M. Oranges are similar, except duller on the GTS M. And finally, the reds are near identical. In terms of turning quality, I'll give you a visual on how fast and smooth the cube is out of the box. You can hear that there is not a lot of noise involved in turning these layers. Both the outer and inner layers take the same amount of pressure to turn, which is actually really nice. Some cubes have different push requirements for both the outer and inner layers, and that actually gets quite annoying for some solvers. But in this case, both inner and outer layers take the exact same amount of force to push, or at least it feels that way, and that is really nice. Magnets in this puzzle are medium strength magnets, and I would liken them to the 356X's yellow set of magnets. Not the clear ones, which are the strongest ones, but the yellows, which are medium. It's advertised on both Cubicle and SpeedCubeShop as medium strength magnets. And I think on higher order puzzles, medium strength magnets are the way to go. Heavier magnets, it feels like it forces a lot of movement in puzzles, and when you're solving on a big cube, you really want to feel like you're in control of the puzzle. Let's take a brief look at the corner cutting. So, looking here on the green side, we can see that forward corner cutting can go about one piece. And that's what we come to expect from 505s these days. If we go over that, it starts to lock up. I cannot turn down here. And if we go a little bit over one piece, it can make it because of the little divot in the piece here. On 2-layer turns, when you're doing 2 and 2, you can get almost an entire piece. If you go to exactly one piece or more, you can see the internals of this centerpiece starting to show, and you're not going to be able to cut. So you want to do it just a little bit below one piece, and you'll be just fine. When you have 1 layer turned and you want to do 2 layers turns, you can do about half of this piece. If you go too much more than that, you start to pull it apart, but it will work. And if you go all the way to one piece, you're really pushing it there. This is asking to lock up. Similarly, when you have 2 layers turned and you want to do 1, you can do it very easily, except you cannot do it more than 1 whole piece. So So a little bit less goes easily. At 1 whole piece is iffy. There, in that case, it was not at all. And less than 1 piece, very easy to do. All right, here is the reverse corner cutting. So when we do a U move and we get it half a piece over on one layer, we cannot do it. Cannot even do half a piece. On here, we can do a little bit over 1 piece because of these little ridges here. I would say this is about average for big cubes because reverse corner cutting is not something that you can easily engineer into a big cube, especially 5+. On double turns here, when you only have 1 misdone, you can do about half a piece, and it will sometimes catch into place. So it's similar to the single layer ones. Half a piece, barely. A little bit less than half, easily. So half a piece or less at most. In terms of 2 layer turns, offset it by this much, we're looking at this gap right here, half a piece. It can do that. It can do half a piece from there. If we do it a little bit more than half a piece, no. If we do it less, easily. And now 2 on 2, we do about half a piece here in the center. No, can't even do it. We have to realign it a little bit. Not at all. Now if we do it a little bit less than half, it gets in there. So to give you an idea of just how fast this puzzle is, if I put a moderate amount of force when trying to make a U-turn, you can do a U2. That was like a almost U2. So the cube is very fast. So we'll try that again. There you go. See, a moderate amount of force will get you there. In terms of 2 layer turns, you can do pretty much the same. So that just shows that there's about the same amount of force needed to turn each of the layers. It's for that reason that I recommend using heavier lubricants on this puzzle. We'll do a quick size comparison to the WuShuang. I believe the GTS M is 1 millimeter larger, and so you can see there that there's almost no difference. However, what that means is that it does feel like a larger puzzle in your hand. In order to offset this though, the GTS M has more pillowed edges on it versus the WuShuang's very pointy corners and edges. So it depends on what you prefer in terms of that. I actually really like the bubbled feel on this puzzle, and so it doesn't actually feel bigger than this one to me. But if you really prefer that 1 extra millimeter smaller, the WuShuang is where you'll want to look for that. When you first take this out of the box, it will be tensioned not super loose, but just a little bit looser than I liked. So I went ahead and tightened up each side about 1/4 of a turn. But I just wanted to show you the pull that you're going to get on each side. So if you grip here on the corner and you pull, you're going to see you're going to get a little bit more than that when you pull it out of the box. And for 2 layer turns, you're going to get about that much. You can see that it looks like there's a lot of open space in there, which would make you think that it's really has a high chance of popping or locking up, but it doesn't actually, and I found that it has a relatively low chance of popping or locking up. In fact, the only time I've ever been able to make it lock up, it was completely my fault and definitely not that of the cube. The turn I was trying to make was not something that any normal solver would try to do. So let's get on to the internals of this thing. Something of note, this center cap is not actually just a cap. The center cap is a cap attached to a stock, and that stock has a little bit of a base on it with teeth that connect into another center piece that actually holds the screw. So you can't just put a fingernail in and pop this out and then have access to a screw immediately. What you have to do is pull it apart and either use your fingers, or in my case a screwdriver, and pull out a little piece of stock about this long. If you've just got this out of the box and you haven't done anything to the tensions, you can just misalign a layer like this and pull out a wing. But since I've tightened it a little bit, I can't actually take this wing out. I need to get screwdrivers involved to pull this piece out. Alright, I just got the center piece out, and you can see here what I was talking about. It's a center cap attached to a stock and then attached to another piece, and when you look in the cube there, you can see the screw in there. These pieces here are these 8 center pieces, and those both lock into this part of the cap. So if you were to break this, meaning you break the stock right here, you're still going to be able to put that little nub into the center and your cube will still hold itself together. The spring and the screw come all the way out between these little center pieces though, so you don't actually have to take apart the cube if you want to work on the springs, meaning you can apply your metal on metal lubricant if you want without taking the puzzle apart. Here is a look at the screw and the spring itself. Very, very small head on the screw so that it can fit through here, and the spring also runs a little less than half of the length down the screw. Also similar to the WRM and other modern puzzles, the screw is not threaded all the way to the head here. It's only threaded the part that you're supposed to put into the core. Of course, as per usual, under the spring actually sits this washer as well, so you'll want to make sure not to lose that when you're taking this apart. As you can see here, I've taken off the first two layers, and here's a look at the rails in the cube. The tracks here for the pieces to slide along in are very pronounced, but also very smooth, and all of the pieces here where we switch from one piece to another have very rounded edges, so there's almost no chance of you getting caught on any of these lips here. The core, very standard blue core here. You can't see much of the screw in there, which is actually quite a good thing, and the center piece goes all the way down here. The cap here ends right at this piece, so once we look at this piece we'll see that this piece connects into this larger blue piece here, or just any of the centers. And here's a look at both the corner and wing edge cross section. We can see that all of the pieces in this puzzle are full colored plastic. They're not simply colored caps on a translucent white base or colored caps on a black base like with the GAN 356. We actually have full colored plastic, which is actually very nice in my opinion. You can also see here the strength of the magnets. Very solid magnets. They'll definitely hold the pieces together, but they're not too hard to move. These wing edges have little ridges on them here, which helps reduce surface area, where the corners are completely flat. You can see here how these pieces meld together here. They do leave a little bit of an air gap. Here's a look at how the center edge connects into the wing edge and how it connects next to the corner stock. It actually holds the corner stock in place, or vice versa, so that this piece doesn't actually move up and down more than it should. It interlocks here as well, and again, magnets quite strong. The remaining two types of piece on this puzzle are the corner center and the edge center. The corner center first has this little platform on it. This tip is what holds under the centerpiece, whereas the rest of these are what hold under the edge centers. The edge centers slide in like this, and you can see how it looks on the red center in the back there. The edge center looks like this piece, and there isn't really all that much to say. So let's get this cube back together and we'll do a couple of solves. Alright, so while we look at a few solves here, I'd like to give my personal opinion on this puzzle versus the WuShuang M. For reference, I have the Angstrom WuShuang M from the Cubicle, and I have a completely unmodified GTS M. I really like the feel, size, and color shades of the GTS M more than the WuShuang, but I prefer the single layer turns of the WuShuang over the GTS M. I think after some heavy lubricant and quite a few break-in solves, the GTS M becomes a much better puzzle, for me personally. I also really like the bubbled corners and just rounded feel in general that the GTS M has. Although the WuShuang feels better in my hands when doing double layer turns, even though it takes a little bit more push in order to get each of the two layer turns to go. So my perfect 5x5 would actually be a mix between the two. I like the outer layers of the WuShuang, but everything else of the GTS M5. So thanks for checking out my review, and enjoy the rest of the solves.